All right, hey everyone, back streaming again. All right, 1 second. Hey, what's up, man? All right, just finished setting up some things. All right, I think we're ready to go now. I haven't used this program in forever. Maybe no. All right. Noise flute goes hard. Are you talking about like just the mic? All right, maybe I won't do panels. Feels kind of. Oh, I picked up a nose whistle. Yeah, I'm probably just too close to the mic, honestly. I just got a new mic, so I don't even know. I'm not used to it. It was quiet ASMR. Okay, good. This is yeah, I tried to like mess with the settings as much as I could so it didn't just pick up a lot of random stuff. Yeah, I feel like today is probably just gonna be, I guess, chill sort of sketch, and I've been like nonstop making different things, like working on a comic book, animation, and I haven't really sat down to just kind of like doodle for fun. Really, it's just been a lot of like trying to make something that has a story and where it all goes together. Which program am I on? This is on Krita. It's a free drawing program. It's kind of just like the first program that I got when I started drawing on my computer. So I'm just kind of used to it. I didn't really like look for a different one after that. I never even used much of the features on any of the programs, though. I kind of just like find a brush that can just do basic line stuff and then go from there and just kind of do everything with the line. And then usually the color, I just do one layer underneath and then start coloring. So it's like something really basic, just kind of works. You've been trying to set up your workspace on Clip Studio? Yeah, I tried Clip Studio. At the time, I was using like a touchscreen Wacom, and for some, I don't think at the time Clip Studio like allowed the touch settings, so I just never went too far in it. But I know a lot of people really like Clip Studio. You would think it's easy, but it's the top 10 hardest moments in my life right now. And I definitely feel that though. I swear I spent like a whole week just setting up things for just like a streaming setup, and it's been so much work. Yeah, it should just be like a simple, a simple thing, but and the more you get into it, the more you realize it's just more and more stuff to manage. I know, right? It's just too much work to draw. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I actually planned on recording like drawing traditional stuff on paper, but and I ordered like a bunch of stuff for the setup, and then one chord didn't work, so now I have to wait like a couple more weeks for one chord to come that makes like everything work. So yeah, I'll just have to wait a bit for that to come. Not even sure if it'll actually work once it comes, but yeah, just it's pretty ridiculous. I think it'd be worth it once you get everything set up though. For one chord, yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna start recording with a camcorder, and to like stream it, then I need a capture card, and the capture card, the cord that it came with, isn't compatible with like my computer ports, so I needed to order a cord that was compatible. Hopefully it's better, because before I was just recording with my phone, which was good, but um, YouTube would always mess up the phone settings and start auto focusing and blurring and doing a bunch of stuff like that. And I was just using the phone mic. So a little bit of a gamble, but hopefully it pays off. You're an awesome artist. I look up to you and watch all your drawings. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Whoops. We get less shittier every day. Yeah. Yeah, art is like a slow burn. It's like a slow burn with invisible progress sometimes. Oops. It's not even darker. Maybe it is. Jeez, whatever hold feature that's messing with the brush numbers is a little bit annoying. Hmm. Get some kind of chest piece armor on him. I feel like at this point on a character, I'm always kind of deciding if I want him to be a little bit more bulky or at least for like armor, if I want him to be more like slimmer. I feel like I kind of think of it like a video game class, like if he's gonna be more of like a finesse like rogue, or if he's gonna be more of a tank. Also, at this point, I'm kind of wondering what the character's even doing. Especially when I'm like about to get to his shoulders or arms. I'm kind of... You kind of do like 100 different poses off of just the character standing like this. Or sit in or whatever. At this point, I just make a small torso and even smaller. Yeah, that is fun. Doing that. Yeah, it's fun to have like a lot of contrast. Um, like doing a really bulky upper torso and then giving him chicken legs or something. Oops. Try to make this as symmetrical as possible, even though it's like really, really off on the corners. Oops. Yeah, I probably start going a little bit slimmer as the character goes down. Will help out his shape a bit. try to kind of overlap this in, even though it's cut it into his waist a bit. Maybe he just has a really slim waist. All right. I feel like once I get like half the character done, then it's like much easier to know, or at least like make a decision on where to go next. Kind of just like narrows down the options a lot. Please stop bringing up the keyboard. Some kind of golds. Yeah, he just has a really small waist. Can't really see under the clothes, so I know for sure I want the waistbands to be some kind of purple. All right. Damn, I'm horrible at drawing straight lines on this pad, though. It's so awkward. have like no muscle memory for this thing. All right, there we go. You gonna head out? Catch you later. Peace. Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you have a good rest of your day. All right. Well, he's already got 4 swords. 2 more probably won't hurt. Oh, these will just kind of be like the sheaths for the 2 swords that he has in his hands. I think I'll have some kind of secondary mask on this other half of him. I guess right now he's kind of just wearing like the half mask, but give him like the full mask. I have to kind of figure out how I want to do his legs now. I always kind of like the samurai. I have a lot of like mixture of padding and more padding. I like to do like the woven kind of knots and stuff on the armor pads. And usually there's like a lot of inconsistent parts, but kind of just try my best to get it looking like it's somewhat functional. And if things start to go a little off path, then just kind of like go through and reconnect it, or try to kind of like morph and change it a little as I go to match a little with like the perspective and the angle. Plus it doesn't have to look too crazy, so it's like once it's like zoomed out to here, the pixels and or ink and pen lines will be like so kind of like collected into one bunch like this, so it's really hard to see like the separation in detail. I still try to be like as accurate as I can, but there's kind of a point where it doesn't really matter as much. There's like a lot of other things on the drawing that matter a lot more. And then I'll do like a different pattern here, just to add like a bit of variety between the other ones. doing the square armor always reminds me of like a roof of a house or something. And then I think I want to do some kind of... I like doing a lot of patterns on the cloth. Even if it's just like little simple things, it adds a lot of detail. And it's like, I like doing it because it's like very readable detail. Since it's more of a design and not like hatching or trying to... And still, it pretty much kind of is like hatching or a contour since it's going across the forms and different things like that. But I like that it kind of makes it clean with also making it look a bit more detailed and also three-dimensional at the same time. And it works really well for coloring too, since it gives you an extra color you can do in there to kind of split it up. I'm always kind of looking for more ways to make drawing a little bit more detailed, but kind of make it like a purposeful addition. Also kind of making it like clean and readable, because I could just go through and like hatch a lot and it would make it look a lot more detailed, but it would be it would sort of like muddy out the readability a little bit and the separation. I used to do a lot of just black and white or grayscale drawings. And then I kind of realized from like learning in general, I like doing the color, since it forces you to, I mean, depending on like how you color and different things. But it kind of like forced me to draw like closed lines, sort of like the sword and a bunch of the different pieces. I like to have like a lot of separation, so then when I go into color, it's like I know that this purple area is going to be like all purple, and I know like which piece of it is. Where doing grayscale, or like you're not going to color, it doesn't matter as much. You don't really need to be as precise on like making things readable. It can be more like chaotic and more of like a vibe. I mean, you can do the same thing with color too, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of value readability a little bit. But like only to a point, because I'll still draw like 30 characters on the page, and that's but yeah, that's like kind of why I think I started trying to figure out like ways to make the details more readable, is because I was like drawing like 30 characters on a page, and if I didn't make them readable, then it's like it doesn't even look like there's 30 characters on the page. It looks like this like jumbled mess of drawing, I guess. But then making all 30 characters readable, then it's like that when you look at it, it's like holy cow, there's 30 characters on the page and you can see like each individual character, and it kind of just makes it like a little bit cooler, I guess. I should probably add some. I really like using like a mixture of grayscale and color too. Like, I mean, this part's still colored, but using like a lot of grays, and instead of shading with it, kind of like messing with the local value. So like if like a shirt is like a dark blue or something, then it'll be a lot darker in grayscale. So kind of messing with those sorts of things. Kind of like these like arm guard things. It's like a dark gray, which it could have been any other color, but I think a lot of drawings kind of look good with like a lot of contrast. And so like if I'm doing like drawing like this and I don't know if I'm gonna color the whole thing or not, then I'll do a lot of grayscale because it's a little bit easier on the mind. You don't have to go through and choose a bunch of colors. It's kind of just like, do you want a dark tone, something that's like 70% gray? It's more so deciding on values, which is like a lot simpler of a scale than all of the colors are. And I also like to add like some sort of very dark value, like a black, to split up and add a bit of contrast. So these grays kind of almost substitute that. It's so nice you don't have any background music. I can listen to the rain outside. Isn't there a problem that the swords he has to pull from his back? Are they small swords with the elbow protection? Yeah, it's alright. The sheets on the back could just be cosmetic, but yeah, that is a point. I've seen they have like those like backpacks that kind of like when they unsheath the sword out the back, it kind of like pulls up the whole backpack off their back a little bit because it has like a bit of slack to it. So he could just he could just have one of those with all of the stuff going on on the back of this character. But yeah, there's there's a lot of things that don't make sense on the characters. But like, I'll just do it like a red. Okay, kind of work. I feel like I kind of like more of a pinkish, purplish red over like a normal, just like fully saturated red. Since I found that the super saturated just base red turns very orange next to a few colors. I don't really know what which colors it does, but for whatever reason, a lot of the colors I use on drawings, it starts to look very orange. So plus, I like a violet color for just drawing. The colors are great. Thank you. Yeah, kind of just go off of like intuition for picking which colors. Sometimes there's like I think about it a little bit, um, but most of the time just kind of like selecting a color and like I'll just kind of go through the wheel and start moving it around and whatever one kind of like might look good. Then I just which probably works like about 50% of the time. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it'll just like totally not work. None of the colors I choose go together at all. But I feel like that's just kind of drawing in general. It's a lot of drawing says like, how did that even like happen or end up that way? Yeah, I kind of don't have music on the stream because I want to keep it like as simple as possible and not have like there's already so many things running. Don't want to like add more things and that I need to monitor or track, and then all of the extra things that come along with music. But yeah, plus everyone has like their own preference for music, so it's probably better to just if they want to put on their own music. The colors went from grayish to juicy. Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, I had them a little. I've been adding a lot more grays. So if I kind of like burn out on the drawing, then I don't need to like color as much. So it's a little for that, and then it kind of like leaves room open if I want to just go over and finish it out too. Then anything that was sort of in a grayscale will still just be can be colored. Yeah, I'll just do it red. Now I have a ton of options for doing the cloth on his pants. Maybe I'll just finish out his legs and then go from there. I always start like small in a corner whenever I'm doing digital art, and then it ends up just kind of taking over the page. But I'll probably shrink him down if I want to add a bit more characters to it. Have like these little strings off of here so it adds a bit more shape so it's not just a square edge. I started off with a bit of a dark green so I can come through here. Maybe darken up some of this. Can I like add a bit of line weight? Alright, now I need to figure out how I want to do the legs. Like I'll do some sort of like, I don't know, almost make them like look kind of wooden. Could be kind of cool. Also making them a little bit of a like a tighter fit, since I probably could have made like his head a little bit smaller, but then he's got kind of like this more interesting shape going on. something like this. I try to make like his silhouette a little bit interesting, or like on a lot of characters. I feel like that's a lot of the fun that I have with drawing, is trying to make it look interesting. Yeah, I feel like if the drawing's interesting, it doesn't have to be like very good or like it doesn't need to be correct. All right. And then I'll just color. Maybe do like a darker than what the arms are. Would love to see a knight in your style sometime. Yeah, I was thinking of trying out some medieval things. I know I do a lot of samurais, more like Asian themed armor and things. What program am I using? It's Krita. It's a free like painting program. It's just kind of like the first one I tried a while ago when I first started drawing on a computer. So I just kind of like kept using it. Because I'm just kind of like used to the controls and different things. It's nice that there's a lot of free programs nowadays that will definitely be enough to do whatever you want with. And a lot of them even have like built-in animation. I think I haven't checked if Krita you can do animation, but I would assume so since like every program's putting that in nowadays. I really like doing some kind of like flower pattern whenever I'm doing the pants and or any cloth sort of thing. Yeah, I should actually do a night. I saw a few YouTube videos of like people like recreating old medieval like knight armor and it looked really sick. All of the carvings and things. I always kind of go back and forth on like shading. I feel like shading is so weird. I feel like it's like really not needed on a lot of like just a lot of drawings I've done and it's like add in shadows just doesn't help it as much as I feel like it probably should, but like I really just like doing flats and just the line art and relying on like the detail to just be like the objects and like the equipment that the character has or the patterns and like what the actual thing is. There'll just be like a lot of times when I start shading a drawing and then it like completely kills it. I kind of like how anime uses like very very minimal shading. Like they'll just do one sort of shadow that's all the same tone, and it's just kind of going across the whole character. Hey, what's up, John? Shading is a lot of fun though. I feel like whenever I shade, it's more so because it's fun to do. It gets a little bit boring, like never doing shadows. Yeah, if you're looking for something free for a program for drawing on a PC, I think Krita is definitely. I mean, like I said, I haven't really looked at like many other options, but it's been good enough for like everything that I do. A lot of the digital stuff I do is on Procreate on my iPad, but whenever I need like a PC thing, then I just use Krita. I feel like you never know how the shading's gonna look until you finish it through. Like somehow the shadows start looking wrong all of a sudden. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a gamble. I've been in like so many situations where I'm just sitting there like adjusting shadows for like almost more time than it took to do the whole drawing, and then and then it doesn't even look any better. Like and then I'll turn off the shadow layer and then see what it looked like before, and I was like, it looked better. It looks way better before I even start the shadows. But then it's like at that point you're too deep in, you can't turn back. Yeah, before I thought that you pretty much had to do like shadows for things to look three-dimensional, and then I saw a lot of like old art from like early late 1800 to early 1900, and a lot of them, well, some styles they didn't use like any shadows. It was just flats with like watercolor, and it looked really good, and they relied like mostly on just the line art to make form, and it looked really good. Or like even a lot of the other art that was like pen and ink with watercolor, like they mostly just did hatching, or didn't, some didn't use much shadows. Yeah, it's pretty all over the place though. There's been some drawings where I'm like, oh, thank God I shaded on that. Because it looked so much better, and then there's other ones that just kills it, or I waste a lot of time doing it. Mood, yeah. Yeah, shadows are really good for like if you're doing something kind of cinematic, or you want definitely want to do some mood. Make it look spooky. Yeah, I think if I do shadows, might only do like one one tone and then just kind of go through, or at least on like the parts that really need it, like a cast shadow or something. Uh-oh. Probably merge these 2 layers down. All right, I'll probably center him. Whoops. Should be above. Yeah, like when I do shadows, I've had like the most success just doing focusing on the cast shadows the most. I think it kind of like looks the most pleasing or dramatic, really. Especially using like straight black for shadowing. A lot of the most dramatic shadows are kind of the cast shadows. I think they look the coolest, and you get like those cool effects of like weird things, like a pole or I don't know, just like any object casted on someone's, like the trees. Like a lot of photography of trees, and the leaves like kind of making a shadow on someone's face. Oh, it's really cool. Probably should have went a little darker on that, but it'll do. I forgot I'm at like 500 for the pixel size. Alright. From here, I'll probably start focusing a little bit more on what's going to happen around this character now. It's kind of what I like to do in like traditional. It's kind of like once I have one character done, then it's sort of trying to get an interaction of the other characters and get everyone kind of working in the same environment. And this character here is probably going to be the hardest of them, since he's like laying on the floor, and also I don't want to get like too twisty with moving the camera around and stuff. So I'll just have to draw from this very awkward angle a bit. I always like when the shadows like overlap. Kind of just like a. It reminds me a lot of like ink wash. You get kind of those random effects of like I'll do a wash and then on the cast shadow and then draw another character within, and it kind of, I don't know, adds like a cool bit of watery look. Yeah, this character is probably going to be the hardest just because he's at a weird angle. Or at least an angle I don't do very often. It'll be worth it because once I get him in, it'll be very easy to do other characters around him since he'll be kind of like a guide. Alright. Alright. Got most of the hard parts out of the way. That should be pretty easy. I always feel like it's like a kind of like a puzzle. Like once you get a general amount of the pieces in, then it's everything comes pretty easy after that. But when you're like sitting there and you have all the puzzle pieces and you don't have like any direction at all. It gets a little bit a little bit trickier. It's kind of like a repeating theme too across all the characters and the whole page together. Especially like the first character is always like I usually start from like the head or a hand or something, and then that's like the hardest part, and then it just gets a little bit easier, more pieces that keep adding up, and then you add like another character, and then it gets a little bit easier, just kind of like figuring out what's going on. Like the shapes just clicking. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's kind of like your options start to become like more limited, but I think limited in no, that's not that's not even a word. Limiting your options is like I think really good for drawing. I feel like there's like always too many options since you have like a blank page that literally anything possible could happen on the page. So like any sort of little things you get to kind of like limit your options a little bit. Just make it way easier to like pick something. It's a pretty weird angle, but I think that'll probably do. I just need his back arm. Probably could have done something cool with the back arm, like having it grab onto this character's leg or something. So you have a little bit of interaction, but this will also do. Yeah, I kind of treat it like a little bit of a game too, because there's like a lot of the decisions can kind of add or make other things easier. So like um I already have the cast shadow down here, so I kind of know like how I'm gonna do the floor. But if I had to grab onto his arm, then I get like a little more character interaction. But if I have his hand on his back side, and on the floor, All right, guys. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take my dogs outside, and then I'll be back. All right, I'm back. All right. I pretty much got this character in a spot. Get some patterns in here. Do you recommend paying for a course in order to get better? And also, do you think practicing digital carries over to traditional? Yeah, I don't know if I never did any courses, so I can't really like recommend to do them. But I think there's enough like information on YouTube and online where I don't really think you like need a course or like to learn anything special. And even then, I feel like it kind of like depends on the person for even like, because like I don't know, when I practice, it's mostly just like a lot of the mileage or practice that I get is just from like drawing itself. So just kind of like just doing what I'm doing right now, just doodling and like learning as I go on each piece. That's kind of like how I learn for getting improving in different things. Where I don't know, it might be beneficial to like watch videos and like kind of learn through that. But I think most of the improvement will probably come from just drawing itself, which you don't really need a course to draw since everyone pretty much knows how to draw. And then I think just over time you'll just like get better and better. But I definitely like I don't think you need a course or really anything special to get started. I definitely think that digital and traditional transfer over like the same. I started like when I was like getting more serious into drawing. I started with digital, and I think it depends like how you use each of the things, because like if you get super used to like the control Z button and like zoom in super like zoomed in to do like every little bit of detail, as soon as you go to traditional, those things are going to be like very noticeable. And it might take like a bit of time to get used to not being able to control Z every time that you make a line you don't want. So those things can take a little bit of time, but like a lot of the times I try not to use the control Z at all, and I try to like keep my zoom in like minimal, but it is also kind of just hard to see on a monitor, so I can't like just be too zoomed out, and if I'm too zoomed out then you guys can't even see what I'm trying. So but yeah, I think I try to make my stuff like as like seamless between traditional and digital. So like I'm using like a pen tool to do all my drawings, and any of the coloring I'm doing, like I tried to kind of keep it so that I'm like thinking about if I was to do markers or a watercolor or something, then I'll be able to do the same thing basically. So I try to keep my stuff that I do digitally similar, but I mean, you can definitely go all in on one or the other too, but there's a lot of crossover since it's still the same thing. Like at its core, it's all of the same tricks and stuff apply. It's just each one has like its little things that it comes with. Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I guess that's my input on it. Yeah, I definitely don't think you need any sort of special practice or course. Everything that I've learned, besides like when I first started, I was like just watching like every single video I could on YouTube of like how to do shading, anatomy, like perspective and all that, and like that's good, and it kind of like collected in my mind. um and then when you actually go to draw, I think that's when it's like that info is becoming practical and you're actually able to like use that information out. And then I kind of learned like once I'm going and drawing and using that information, then it's kind of like then each drawing or character that I do, I'm like learning from the previous and then carrying that new stuff over. And another thing I realized like is that there's kind of like not enough information out there, if that made sense. Like you'll kind of hit a wall where everything that people teach and stuff will just kind of become like very what they're saying is like repeating, like, oh, this is how you shade, this is how you use perspective and that sort of thing, and then everything else is kind of like how you decide to use it, and that part can't really be taught. So it's like kind of like then you're on your own in this open ocean trying to figure out how to use all that stuff and how it works best for you. So yeah, I definitely like hit a wall for where that sort of the courses or teaching stuff kind of like falls off and it becomes a little less important. Or but I think it can be like I think you can definitely get enough off just YouTube videos because there's so much stuff out there. And but I definitely don't think you need like that big of a start, but it's nice to know like what perspective is, like how shadow and lighting works. And then once you learn those, like bare minimum, I'd just say just grind out drawing in whatever way you find the most fun, and I think you get the most progress that way. Yeah, I used to use reference a lot whenever I draw when I was starting to kind of like learn from. Um, then I kind of realized like when you use that reference, everything is already figured out in that reference. Like you don't even need to think about anything. Like it's kind of just like everything's there. Even if you use like 10 different references and you're piecing them together, like you already have like what the landscape looks like. You already know all the shaping of the character. Like you don't need to know anything about much about anatomy. But then drawing without reference, it's like more of like a building block progression where I need to know actually how a face works. I need to know like if you put a figure on the floor, like how is their weight gonna be dispersed, and like if they were just slain by this other guy or something, like how are they gonna fall to the ground? What position are they gonna be laying in? There's just like a lot more things, like the fabric. I need to know how the folds are gonna be like. But if you use the reference on how folds sit, you could probably find like something very similar, and then everything's there, so it takes away you don't need the building blocks anymore. You kind of like are on you already have the thing built, and you can just like I wouldn't say copy and paste because you still have to like put the things together, but it's a lot more easier. But I do think that I don't know, like whenever I'm using reference, it's like indirect. So like when I'll be watching a movie, and like the other day I was watching like John Wick, and like during the movie I was like, holy cow, like the cinematography is like amazing in this movie. And I'm just kind of like, well, I'm watching, like taking notes of like how are the characters positioned, and like where the lighting setups are really cool. Of like when he's in the club areas, like you have like mostly like red and blue lights, or green and red, and different combinations like that. And just kind of like looking where the characters are positioned, how the lighting is hitting them, and like those kinds of things. And the environment, because like in movies it's like very set up on like an intentional, like when they put a pillar and then your character's like here, like it's like very intentional of placing the characters in a certain shot and different things like that. So I kind of like look out for those things, and that's kind of how I use references. Like, well, I'm observing the thing, and then I'll go back through, and then like it won't always come up right away, like the scenes that I was looking at, but kind of can break those scenes down and use like similar scenarios when they come up. But then when I go to draw, it's just kind of like drawing whatever I'm thinking about or interested in the moment. And then if those things come up that I was like looking at because it's interesting, I'm like, but that when I finally use it, it might be like a month from now. But just kind of like collecting that data that way versus having the thing right in front of you and all the answers are already figured out, so you don't need to like problem solve as much. Do you have a tip for repeating stamps like the flowers of the two guys shirts? Yeah, well, like when I'm doing the different patterns and things, I'm mostly just thinking about how like the folds in the shirt is. So like if this was like another person's outfit or something, and his head was here, then I'm just looking at like the folds and kind of how they're mapped out. And then when I go and do like the patterns, then I'm trying to just wrap around the image sort of like a tattoo, like if you kind of think of like a tattoo on an arm, and sort of like how it would fit on his shoulder. And it's just kind of like if you were drawing, I kind of think of it if you were drawing on like a warped surface, and he had some sort of dragon or whatever, and it's going to be like very warped compared to if you were to draw the same thing on a normal surface. So just like kind of bending it to how the person's arm is. And just kind of doing that throughout the whole thing. And then yeah, if you had like some more of a like some flower rose thing, then I'm just kind of like making the same pattern over and over across the rest of his body. So it doesn't matter which surface it is, it just kind of is the same thing throughout the whole. And then I could just go on. And a lot of the folds too. So like if I place it on that fold right there, then like the rest of it, depending on how the shirt is, I would like, if this was like this flower petal over here, then I would probably have like the stem kind of like come out lower, since it's like the fold is being like sort of like that, and the rest of it's being like tucked underneath and in. So then the pattern would just go more so and bend outward. So I'm kind of just warping the whatever the image is across the character. And then, yeah, just do that across the whole thing. I mean, there's probably like digital tricks for making it easier to stamp patterns and wrap around, but I like to kind of hand draw a lot of things and just kind of keep it simple. I kind of remember, is it Miyazaki from like the Ghibli, or however it's pronounced, from those films? I think he has a quote that's like to like basically do everything by hand. And it sounds crazy, but like as I was learning art and stuff, I'm like, that actually has like a lot of truth to it, because especially when I was doing a lot of the animations lately, I realized like I could do a lot of loops, like where the image is just repeating like across like the same 5 frames, and it's just kind of like looping between those frames, and then it just does it again and again, so you can get someone's like hair moving in the wind. But I had a lot more fun just kind of like drawing like 10 unique frames that were just like all different. Even if it was this just a character standing there, it's like I had like 20 frames, different drawings of the characters standing there, but it made it look like so much more organic, and there wasn't like a repetition. And I don't know, like I think our eyes are really good at seeing repetition, so it's kind of noticeable when something's repeating or it's completely different. And like in real life, someone's hair blown in the wind is gonna like be different. Like you're not gonna get the same strands continuously blowing the same way every time. All right, I should probably. I think I want kind of a. Maybe like a little bit of a bluish. Little desaturated though. Yeah, I know when I was doing my comic, I had a lot of patterns on clothing, and one of the ways that I found to color it kind of fast is just going over the whole piece all together and then just going back and doing the rest of the patterns and stuff separately. Which is the nice part of digital versus traditional, though, because if I was doing this traditionally, I would have to color each of those first and then be very careful when I go over with a blue so that it doesn't mess up all of my like flower petal. Wait, you have a comic? I have it pretty much finished. It's kind of short. It's like 50 pages or like, yeah, I think like 50, 55 pages or something. But yeah, it's just a pretty short one. Yeah, I'll hopefully have that on my website soon. I also have like a 30-page one that I did a long while ago, and that one's kind of on the back burner, but hopefully I get that one out soon too. But yeah, the newer one I did just like last month. Yeah, there was two that I worked on, but one I got to like page 13. I was like so burnt out of how the story was going, so I was like, I'm gonna have to like finish the rest of that one later because I was just so out of energy for it. But and that's the one that I post on my YouTube or have some videos. And then the one that has 50 pages, I didn't post anything on it yet, so I get kind of a gray in here. Try to get as many colors on this character as I can, even though it's more of like a whole piece, or the other characters is more intricate. Yeah, I really like doing patterns on clothes though. It's like really relaxing to just kind of go through, and it's like something I know. Like it's very predictable. Like I kind of know exactly how it's gonna end up since it's like the same pattern over and over. And then when I go to color, it's relaxing to just kind of go through and have some repetition of something. probably the only repetitive thing that I like to draw. I don't really like drawing building windows though. That is a huge pain. I kind of don't like drawing buildings in general. Some buildings are pretty cool, but there's a lot of buildings that aren't very cool looking. All right, and then I like to do like a little bit of pink, add a bit of life into the character around around some areas that have a little bit of blood flow. All right, we'll get a little bit of cast shadow too from this other character. Then they'll kind of look like they're in the same environment a little bit more. All right, there we go. Gotta go. Bye. Yeah, man. Take it easy. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Oops. All right. Now that I have that character there, it should make it a little bit easier to... A little bit easier, at least. It's still gonna be a little bit of a difficult angle, but at least I have like a bit of a theme now. I find it's a lot easier once I kind of figure out like where the drawings go, and it gets a little bit easier since now I can focus more on making the angles work and don't have to like try to figure out what I'm drawing at the same time. Where like for the first few characters, it's a lot of like I have to figure out the angle of the character, and then also at the same time I'm thinking about what the character's wearing and a lot of different things. Yeah, so now this should be a bit easier. Do whatever feature that is that keeps popping up the keyboard every time I tap I try to adjust my brush size. That's gonna be I really need to find out how to turn that off. Make things a little bit easier. Okay. I'm just gonna make this sword, figure out how the hands and arms will be. And then we'll have a bit of the foreground figured out here. I kind of find that doing these like freestyle sort of drawings, I usually have like some kind of like opposing side, I guess. So like this is the other side or whatever that this character is like battling. Since it's more of like a fight scene, I guess, or after the fight scene. So figuring out sort of what the opposing side is now, and usually like they have uniforms or some kind of thing matching, where this guy's more of like main character vibes, or I guess I could have multiple of his uniform and make them match. But yeah, so now I already know what this character is basically going to be for color and everything. And I know that he's going to be wearing blue. And I already have the shade and everything figured out, so I literally just have to use the dropper on that other character I made. And I kind of like to have like the opposing sides in like a action scene, so that the scene feels more connected. I feel like the brain is like really good at seeing those sort of repetitions, and it'll make the overall drawing a lot easier to see what is happening a lot faster. Then I got the pants down here. They're pretty far away, so I'll try to warp the pattern to match that. All right. Now just, oh my. Okay. I'll get this color. I have to go to like a 500 pixel brush just to get this in. All right, I think to make this look up a little bit more pushed, I'm probably gonna have the lighter part on that other side. All right. Now, I kind of like to repeat the sword colors and stuff. So like we already got a sword color there, so just use the same kind of like setup of however it is in this sort of world. Even like still a lot of the equipment color and stuff on that's on the other character. The tape wrap and stuff. All right. Let's do like a bit of a lighter gray for the highlight here. And then I'll just kind of like thicken out the hair and make it not look so transparent. And then kind of just grab a lot of colors and reuse them. Hey, there you go. I could even like add a bit of shadow since he's very close to the camera. So we had to get more drastic shadows. So this is kind of a time that I think the shadows would actually add a bit to the character. Alright, something like that will work. Alright. Yeah, so I got my like mid character in the foreground, and then some other character that's like making the ground a little bit more like figured out, which will help as I get further back into the drawing a bit more. And then if I wanted to add some kind of like ground things on the ground, could add an arrow. And I can kind of push like the next ones pretty close to the camera here. And usually if I put something that's like that far up and it's maybe not like noticeable what it is right away, I could put like basically put more across here to kind of like, because I'm trying to in a way like almost explain what that is. So if I have more of the same thing that's kind of like repeated, it's a lot easier to look at it and know what it is right off the bat. Like if there was this one random arrow in the foreground, it might look like a lot of different things because there's nothing to compare it to. But then if there's like a rain of arrows across the floor or something, then it's like, oh, that's an arrow. And then this is kind of something to put on the ground a bit. Kind of like to have like a use for each piece. And we kind of got this nice red color. Or maybe this yellow, a little bit brighter, could look better. That can kind of work on the background a bit while I'm doing the rest of the characters in the scene. Especially at this point, like I already have a lot of colors figured out. Like I can take these browns that are already sitting there, so I don't need to like think too hard on like, oh, what brown would look good here, or messing with the color wheels. A lot of colors already there. And the more that I spread out these colors across the drawing that are like on a similar palette, then start making the scene look like it goes together a bit more. I could take this like a little bit further too and start adding the cast shadows from these arrows. Not many spots like very noticeable for that, but all right, now we got a little bit of what is happening on the ground floor. And same kind of like with this blue outfit that is kind of been like, it's like very described, I guess. So now if I wanted to, I could have like a character that's very off screen over here, and it won't matter as much since this blue outfit is kind of already figured out as like the uniform of those samurai. So now I can do like a character that's way off screen. It might usually look a little weird if I was to just do like a full original look for him over here. All right. I'm really bad at drawing a straight line on this right now. All right, that'll probably be enough. And then since I repeated those, I can also just kind of like get characters in faster with like a lot less work. Since it's already all figured out. And I got the same kind of like sock pattern. I don't know if they're socks. Not sure what they're called. Oops. Yeah, I really like doing that as like a pretty easy way to get a character further back. The nice thing is, as it gets further back in the drawing, it becomes a lot more simpler. It can be a little hard sometimes to like simplify certain outfits and things, but you can get a lot more characters with a lot less work, since it takes a lot more effort to kind of do a larger character that's close to the foreground. Unless I feel like some middle distance, but it also depends on like how the character's face. Like this character's pretty easy since it's only the back of his head, where like if it was a more straight on, it'd be a lot more difficult to draw him in. Take more time at least. Sometimes characters in the background can be a bit tricky to simplify and also make them not look totally crazy. Alright, so we got a bit of a scene going on now. Now I have like a couple options. Alright, I think I'll try something a bit different. I kind of want like another character like this one in the back here, and kind of want to make him like even more dramatic or crazy. So I'll have him like riding something, but I might do some type of like dragon maybe he's riding. We'll see. I was thinking like a horse, but I feel like that's a more common thing. So we'll do, maybe he's riding some kind of dragon here. It's gonna be it's kind of difficult drawing a character riding something since it has multiple layers to it, but it shouldn't be too bad. And it's kind of nice to do something like a little more crazy or difficult that I usually wouldn't do, and to kind of like try those things now where I have everything sort of like laid out, because I know like where he's gonna be in space now with like enough of the help from these other characters. So if I'm gonna go for something a little bit more difficult, this is kind of like the perfect time in the drawing to try something like that. Usually I like to kind of do something that's like very pushed out of my comfort zone. Probably at the beginning or like now is a much safer. But doing it at the beginning can like make the rest of the drawing look a lot better, since it's everything else that will follow that will kind of go with it and strengthen the idea. So a little bit of a backwards way of doing it. We'll get this dragon going. A lot of the dragon should be relatively easy until I get to the character. Once I get to the lower half, I'm probably gonna design his body like a bit like a horse, just to make it a bit easier on myself, so I can kind of figure out where I want to go with it. We'll get the ears out. Get the gums in there. All right. Now from this point, I kind of want to start thinking about like, how is the character going to ride this, and kind of have like some things like different equipment pieces that might be usable for riding this. Like at the very least, the character's gonna want some way to kind of interact with them, by like some way of holding on. So we'll get some of that set up. Like maybe it connects around here. And then I'll kind of have to like judge sort of like this character's size in a bit to get the one in the back. And we'll kind of get like this going somewhere back there. Get some things placed in. All right. I'll probably have like some kind of banner, sort of like a horse as well. I'll get some arms coming off the dragon. Right. Alright, so it should make it a little bit easier to get a character in here since I have everything kind of figured out in this first character. And since he's a little bit further back, I can simplify some of his design on the outfit. Well, kind of like keeping a lot of the details. Alright. And then I'm kind of thinking of like the easiest way to do his head here. And I kind of see like his mask opening will be like a really easy way. Since he has a mask underneath. And then we can use a bit of that fur to shape out kind of that he's like leaning over. And then on that first character, we had the swords being drawn out. So we could at least have one sheath. And then I'll kind of bring this back a bit to create a bit of space here. He's got that marking on his helmet. It's like the German campus max. I don't. Is that like is that the medieval ones, or is that like the World War One ones? All right. Probably want him to hold the sword out too. Get that same sort of design. At least try to get like enough to color in there. I want to like it really exaggerate kind of his hunched over too. And he's kind of like ready once he gets close enough on the dragon. Right? I can use some of like these arm wraps and different things. And the pieces coming off to add a bit of movement. All right, now is the difficult part that I was talking about before, which is kind of like getting these two characters basically like stationed so that they're interacting. It's probably gonna be the biggest challenge here, but I'll just kind of treat it like any other thing and just work my way downward with this character's costume. And then like a lot of these details are just going to be too much, so I'll just simplify some of them down so that when I color, I can just kind of like chunk it out. And as long as like the colors, when I go to color him, are like in the general positions as the character here, then this character will kind of be like almost like this base spot that the eye will go to sort of like I don't know, like justify the details on the things in the background. So it'll almost act as like a place to like look at to know what the details are on. Same with like the rest of these characters. Oh yeah, the sword also has a bit of a cloth to it, so we can get that in there. Add some more movement. Finish a bit of the dragon out. All right, and then going a bit further down, I'll have that sort of gray part here. So now I'm kind of like alternating between working on this dragon and the character back here. kind of like to mentally get both these characters like to connect in the same spot. So I can do this purple area here and make sure I get the swords in. And then get this one a bit underneath. I really wanted to show like the extended part of the sword on this, but it's like he's such in an angle where I'm pretty sure it would just be hidden. So at least I get to do that on this character. Kind of just adds a little bit more depth, which would have been cool, but he would have to be like a little bit more tilted. All right, now I'm gonna start thinking about the legs a bit more and kind of how I have the layering of these materials on his pants. All right. So these purple kind of cloth parts are probably gonna fly up in the air from moving. And we could even get a little bit of that like middle cloth kind of flying over his leg. And then the gray pants are here. And then that skinny sort of wooden area. And at this point, this is kind of where the interaction between the dragon's going to be a lot more important, since I know I want the dragon's legs to be outward here. And that'll kind of mean some sort of waist. And getting that shoe in. And then I'll have the dragon have some sort of like place to ride here. I could also, I think instead of putting the leg up here, what I'll do is just kind of like really force the back of the dragon to come off and up and around here, and place his legs a lot further back than what I was originally gonna do. And then we can like really push the scene back more. And then if I can get his leg, more so back here. And it kind of helps the shape of him too. It opens like a bit of room to put some kind of saddle and show that area more too. I put some straps along his legs and tail as well. So then the saddle, when I color it kind of like a tan or something, it won't look like it's out of place, since he'll look like he's kind of more equipped. Right? Then I just need to kind of like figure out that back leg, which could be a little bit lower and might be a little bit in the shot on the floor here. His back arm's a little bit interesting. There's a lot of ways that I could go about this part. Right. Yeah, I think I like probably how that turned out. Alright, whenever I do the dragons, I always like to add a lot of scales across. Kind of to just to add another material onto the character. A lot of material changes kind of help to add a bit of separation between the different pieces. Alright, and then the scale 2, I'll kind of do a bit of the underside. Just to kind of add a bit more shape. I'll just like really simplify this like area on the other character, since it's gonna be really hard to actually get that in. Add in a bit of color will kind of just like do most of the work for me. And then the pants don't really have anything. And then this under part was the square formation that we had earlier. And this is more of the rose. Alright, there's a lot of things I could do for the dragon's cloak thing here. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. Yeah, I'll try something a little bit different and like kind of cut it into 2 parts. And I'll do maybe a gray with the stripe up here. And then I'll cut it into the rose that we had. Then I'll maybe look like there's a little bit more of a protective thing to it. Maybe, since it's still like a little bit layered, but we'll see. All right. I'm hoping there's enough separation with the... There should be with like the stripe. Trying to separate it a little bit from... Since the cloth is over that other character. But we're only going to be able to find out by coloring. But the good thing is already like every color figured out from the other character. Except the dragon. I don't have the dragon color yet. But I can go through and sort of quickly just grab a bunch of colors off that other character. All right. All right, so the mask is gray. And across the mask, arm guards. And these are very dark, so we have a bit of a different color, but can slot those in at the same time. It kind of gets easier to color too once a lot of the pieces are just in place too. Same as like the line art. We can just get red in here. I'm just kind of like trying to chunk in these different colors. Gray. This color. And get the shoe in there. Alright. And then I know I want this purple on the whatever this banner sort of thingy is going on. I kind of just put this here so that it'll be easy to tell that the dragon is like has to do with the other character. Okay. I need some kind of like saddle color, so I'll just throw this in. Kind of see how I feel about it later on if it needs to be changed, but it might just end up working fine. And I'll get all these browns the same. It's nice that my other character is like right next to this one, so I can just quickly like just transfer over the colors. Oops. Alright. I never had a sheath color, but we'll just kind of grab another color that could work. This is probably purple, green. Around the character. I always forget the ears for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. Alright. I think I'll do these flowers and then kind of from there pick a dragon color that goes with kind of the rest of the setup that was already like easier to figure out. Oh, that was actually yellow. Whoops. Alright. I'll get like a few touches of this yellow in there. And it'll look a little more detailed than it really is. Alright, and then for picking the dragon color, I know for sure I want these areas to be like a pinkish. So I'll just kind of like throw that in. And then I know I want the horns to be kind of a lighter blue, so we can add that in. I'm debating like a green maybe. Yeah, I'd probably do a green since their armor's pretty red, besides like that upper part. I don't know why. Okay, I got the wrong green on there. I was like wondering why it was so dark. It's because I selected the line and not the actual painting part. Alright. Maybe like a... We can need a little bit more saturation. Some kind of like brown. I like to do a green with a little bit more yellow in it. Maybe I'll do like a... Then I could do like a yellow for that under part. And his fin sort of thing he's got going on. Kind of very lizardy green. Oh, that's the wrong color. I can get this brown that I used for the hair back here. Yeah, the horns can be same color as these. And I'll just color pick that green and get a little more of a, whoops, maybe a little too much. Get a little lighter of a one and bring it a little towards yellow. Yeah, the scales are a really good way to kind of detail the dragon. Scales and fur, and then kind of having like these like color separations add a lot more detail to the dragon. Especially like animals and stuff can be a little bit more tricky to make them as detailed as like a human wearing a lot of clothes or something. I mean, you could just put a lot of armor on an animal and that would look pretty cool too. Oh yeah, then we can get... Okay, so we got this character's cast shadow that we can add on now. Into the scene. And then kind of try to figure out where this character's sitting. I think I'll try to push it out a bit and have him sitting at this kind of angle. And we'll carry it backward. All right. I'll do a little more to like the ground now. So right about here, I'll have another character like this. This time laying a little bit deeper in the back. So he'll be like super implied. And then we'll get the stripe, add a bit of detail. And that back arm you probably won't see much. But then this leg can come out. Alright, and the flowers I'll just kind of like simplify into some kind of polka dots. And then to add some things on the ground, we'll put a few swords. And we'll get some kind of little rock formation here. And we'll do the same thing up here. Add like a mini group of rocks. Whenever I'm doing backgrounds, I kind of like to think of like a video game and like add in video game assets. I feel like it helps me kind of figure out a bit more of what to add. And then so like we have added a bit of water here. I know I'll probably add a little bit of blood, but I don't want to do too much. I think I like a little bit. Like adds a lot more than a lot. So I could just kind of like add little spots. And then here I kind of wait to add some background elements like this until I have spots where like I know that I probably am not going to fit a character there. So, but I could add a hand kind of coming out here. Oops. And then maybe his other side coming across. And that's maybe where that arrow went. And then since I have so many of these characters that are wearing the same uniform, I'll be able to just color that blue and it'll be a bit more readable. So I have a rock there. I want to do, I know I want a little bit of water. I like to add water as like a extra kind of layer to a little bit of a material change. And we can have some kind of like fern plant around here. And slowly move a little bit further back. Right, that kind of adds a lot to the ground over here. Oh yeah, there is probably enough room to fit this guy's sword in too. Like maybe he dropped his sword as soon as he was defeated or something. Right. Add like a couple more arrows back there. And then to get a little bit further back, I'll kind of like run this stream of water around here. And then when I bring it back around here, I'll kind of like make these mini islands. And this will kind of split up the background and make it a little bit more interesting instead of just like a straight area of water. So now this waterway kind of like splits across and goes to a bunch of different areas. And then we can maybe put some rocks in there. Then we have like these mini little islands that can split up the water for us. Alright, and then I want to leave like a lot of area still to put more characters back there. But I know I'm not going to have a character here, since that might battle a bit with the character in front. Kind of put in like blue next to blue. So we'll just kind of like run the stream and head it towards the stretch in and in the back here. Now I kind of just like push it as deep that possibly can go back. It's kind of a prep. All right. I might leave the stream off here and then finish it off the next time I stream, and I'll come back and do the rest of it. I don't know how many more characters I'll add. We'll have to see. But yeah, probably will add like a lot more going on. But just kind of like setting up the background a bit. I usually like to do the background once I like I said, once I know like I can't fit a character there, then I'll put a background feature there instead. But I like to save like as much room that I could fit a character. Like I might even have like put a character in this area and then just like erase it or something. I probably will do something like that so that there's a little bit more like coverage. A character could definitely fit here. Like maybe he's trying to attack this guy or something. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good rest of the day. Thank you for stopping by the stream. Hope you enjoyed hanging out a bit. So yeah, I'll see you guys.